Always great catching up with my next guest. Pedro Munhoz is going to be fighting in the main event of UFC Fight Night on August 22nd. He's going to be taking on Frankie Edgar. Pedro, how are you, man?
I'm well. Thank you guys for having me in again.
No problem. It's great to talk to you. How are you feeling, man? You said you're well. Obviously, unfortunate news with the previously scheduled fight with you and Edgar with COVID-19. How are you feeling?
Feeling great right now. Actually, when I got the notice that I was, positive for COVID, I was actually feeling good. I was in my room starting warming up, and again that day because we were supposed to travel the same day and night going to Abu Dhabi. So I was in my room just getting ready to train and do something, and I go in my room, say that I test positive for COVID. And the night before, one of the guys that trained with us, Mike Brown, he was there with Jorge Masvidal, so he tested positive for COVID too. So we drove back Vegas to Florida. It took 40 years.
Wow, that's crazy. So
40 hours.
Yeah,
40 hours.
I was going to say 40 years would be a little long. We probably wouldn't see you for a while. But
4 hours. I was thinking. It
felt like 40. Yeah, it felt like that long.
I just answered some question right now. Someone was asking me how old I am, and then the ears would stay fresh in my head. So it took 40 hours.
No worries. Yeah, no. I figured it would take a while. So by the sounds of it, you were asymptomatic, or did you have any symptoms from COVID?
I guess I did, but I was nothing too strong.
Okay, good.
I just thought I did because my head was hurting me one day, and then I had a little bit runny nose. I thought could be allergy, could be any other thing. Feel tired, but once in a while I feel super tired by training, family, responsibilities, and all this stuff. So I noticed in my camp for 2 days I was super tired, but I was training. I was always training. I was always good energy and feeling strong. So so it was good because once I came back from Vegas, starting doing a lot of exams, and and then a week later I was already negative. So I took another week just to make sure everything was good with my body, things like that. So I came back training. So I had a 6 solid training, to be able to adapt again after getting the notice that I was, positive for COVID, and just getting ready to fight on the August 22nd, man.
Yeah, and I'm sure during that period as well, you have to be quarantined, right? Were you even able to see your family? How did that work with? Because I know, right when you get it, you got to, really take action.
Everybody got sick at home. My daughters got sick, my wife got sick, so everybody was positive for COVID. So I just came straight home.
Okay, gotcha. Because I know for some fighters, what was it? I think Dan Hooker had to, after his fight with Poirier, because he had to be quarantined, he had to see his family through a fence. So at least it wasn't that bad, for you. So that's good. But more importantly, man, how happy are you to get this fight rebooked? Because I think they were trying to get Edgar an opponent, but you still get the marquee name and the matchup. So you must have been thrilled when you found out they were rebooking the fight.
Yeah, obviously when I got the notice that I was with COVID, the only thing that I was worrying, because I was feeling good, it was about damn it. So I lost the opportunity to fight Frankie. And then a couple of days later, I found out that the fight was going to be rescheduled. So I got again super excited again. Now it's still another 2 weeks to go. It's almost right there, and in Vegas. So it's gonna be not a long flight, so which is positive. I like it to be able to not travel too far to fight. But it's what it is. I was ready to go, to Abu Dhabi. That was just, but I'm happy that the UFC was able to reschedule this match. That was a fight that I was looking forward to do it, and I feel great. And I had a long layoff, not because I didn't want to fight. I had few opponents that backed me.
I remember you went to 245, right? Remember you wanted to try and get a fight on that card, and it didn't end up happening. So you've been wanting to fight for a while. It's not a case of you turning down opponents or whatever, right? So
yeah, actually, opponents was turning me down, stuff like that, and then pandemic starts. So, but it was good because all this time I was training. I never stopped training, so I never. I always like to train. People see me in the gym every day. I like to train, help people that have a fight coming up. People that help me with training, stuff like that. I always fight and come back. to the gym to be able to give that back to the people that that support me, the people that you know they're my friends, stuff like that.
And the change in this fight now is that it's 5 rounds. I know, I'm not sure people remember from our last interview, but you mentioned that they initially wanted this to be 5 rounds, and then they made it 3 rounds and made it the co-main event. This was supposed to be on the Cater and Ige card, I think, or one of those cards. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, but how much of an advantage is that for you? I know Frankie has the championship experience, but he's never fought 5 rounds at 135. Do you feel like that's an advantage for you?
Yeah, it's gonna be advantage for both. We all both know, like, fighter with a good cardio. I fought 5 rounds, but not in UFC. I used to fight 5 rounds in LFA. I used to be the champion, so every single fight, which I did only 2, it was 5 rounds. And I just did one fight that was the whole 5 rounds. It was against Jeff Kern. When I defended my title, the fight was quick. But in training itself, I feel really good. And even though I was, training before to fight 3 rounds, I always was doing 4 or 5 in the gym. Right now I just kept with the same intensity of training, the same style of training. So yeah, 5 rounds for me is something that I like it. So I I have just more time to show my skills and finishing my opponents is something that I really looking forward to do. It's something that I always like to do. I'm a finisher, so 5 rounds for me, it's added another 2 more than I'm used to it. So I'm definitely had a lot of time right there to be able to put in my skills and do stuff that and be right there on his face and in pushing the pace and try to get the finish.
Who have been some of your main training partners for this camp? Because normally when I'd ask you this question, we'd be here all day because there's so many fighters in American Top Team, but I know you're in sort of smaller groups now. So who have you been working with?
Yeah, working a lot with Catel Cubes. That's a Muay Thai coach, one of the guys that trains Joanna and some other fighters. I train with him many times. Uh, we have a Conan. We have Mike Brown. We have Steve Mako. This is all the coaches we have American Top Team. Also, I have many other fighters. Adriano Moraes, one FC champion. I have guys super quick like Kyoji or Gucci, and now going a little bit heavier. I have a lot of fighters that you probably don't know the name, but like
we will soon enough, I'm sure. Yeah,
prospect and really good fighters, and some of them they kind of have like the same style as Frankie Edgar. So I'm super satisfied, man, how training is going and how I'm feeling for this upcoming fight.
Now, one name you didn't mention in there is Marlon Moraes. And as we talked about this last time, obviously Marlon and Frankie have a history. He sort of said that, hey, look, I'm going to stay out of this fight because Frankie's my friend. Will you guys start training together after this fight? Because Marlon has this fight coming up against Corey Sandhagen in October.
Yeah, we trained before. We used to train a lot. And when this fight with Frankie Edgar, people starting mentioning stuff like that. We were not sure. We were training. He was never doing anything specific for Frankie. He's always mentioned to me he's a good friend of Frankie, and I respect that. I really prefer be around people they're honest. So it's something that I like it, and that's the reason too that I'm not training with my coach that I always used to train with him, Anderson. He had a little bit. He trained Franklin too, so I prefer like not doing that. I know some of the fighters they do, for facts, but I don't need it. I don't need training with someone that knows him. I don't need to train someone that trains with him. That's okay, I really prefer like don't put nobody in that situation, even though it's a part of American Top Team, even though that I could do that. But me and my other coaches, and we thought it would be the best thing to separate all those things, be a comfortable situation for everybody in the fight week, in training camp and things like that. And it's a part of the sport, but we're all humans, we're all, in the end of the day, it's, this is all about how we want to people see us and how we wanted so, and I just thought that was the best thing was just separated that, so, training with different guys, and we still have a lot of people there to train. Marlon and I, we cool. We always see cross each other. He the guy that always like to train too. So I always see him, and he's a cool guy. So we see each other in the gym. So he does his thing, I do my thing, and everything's good.
How's this fight playing out on August 22nd? How do you envision the fight playing out?
All right, so I'm gonna fill him up. Not a lot, my game, my fight style, pretty much everybody knows, what I do. I'm the guys that like to push the pace. I'm the guy that, enjoying the exchanging stuff. Also, I don't avoid when the fight goes to the ground. I never was in the situation on the ground by takedown in UFC. I think I have the average like defending almost the takedown attempt. Also, I'm not a guy that going for takedown as much. I look for the knockout at the beginning. You know, uh, I I could this fight go to the ground. I don't see why not. And then it's gonna be another fun fight. Because something that I just enjoying to do and putting all together. Oh, but you're a jiu-jitsu fighter. Many people say that. No, I trained jiu-jitsu for a long time, but I have been also specialized like as a striker. So I feel myself as a completely fighter. So I'm definitely gonna be comfortable in any situation, But my game is definitely, the pressure one. If you choose to shoot for a takedown, you know, it's a different story right there, so we can, probably display a little bit jujitsu, with punches and things like that, with something that I also will be very comfortable in displaying and doing.
Big fight here, like I mentioned, against Frankie Edgar. Even though he's not ranked, where do you feel like a win puts you? I got to imagine you get a win over Frankie Edgar, or at least a finish. That's got to put you right back in the contender seat.
I do believe so. I don't see anything after that fight. My mind and myself and preparing myself for the fight. Frankie is number 8 right now as a featherweight, or 7, I believe, as a featherweight. A former champ and very tough guy, good name. I do believe that a good victory over a name such Frankie Edgar would definitely gonna put me in the spot back to maybe a top contender. We have Aljamain right now and Petr Yan, I believe. You know, Also we have Marlon and Sadie Hagen after me. So I do believe that, depending how that goes and I get a good finish, I do believe that I could be next, whoever wins with Aljamain and Petr Yan. So it's all depending how it's gonna. It all depend. That's all depend how it's gonna turn out on August 22nd. So let's say like I had a division, go there and knock him out or submit him. I do believe that I will be the next top contender.
I agree. You mentioned there the title picture. Were you surprised to see Petr Yan defeat Jose Aldo the way he did for the title? Because we haven't talked since that fight.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised. I really thought that was going to be a tough fight. I was telling everybody that, I know Peter Yans by, watching his fights and things like that. You actually were in Chicago when we kind of like spoke, tried to. You were there in Chicago when he and I, we were, yeah, yeah. So he's tough, and Jose Aldo too, that's the guy that I'm looking forward to fight one day. Two Brazilian guys, fighting in Brazil. It's definitely going to be a huge fight for all people all over the world, especially for the Brazilian fans. I was surprised. And it just show how tough Peter Yan am, and and he deserves to be, the champion right now. But I do believe that style doesn't match too well with Aljamain Sterling. So a fight between both fighters, I do see Aljo beating him. He's very strategic. When we fought, he didn't stay on the exchange. That's something that I was not looking. Something that I didn't work well to. Even though fights guy like him that was not gonna fight me, he's gonna just try to use the distance, the length, and but has been 1 year the fight, so I was able to correct that. You know, something that I was a little bit having a difficult to find the range, and be able to hurt him more. You know, even though that I threw a lot of kicks, and but he's long and he was avoiding that fight. And I do think that that's gonna it's gonna almost the same thing is gonna happen with Peter and him. Has I do believe that I have a better wrestling than Peter Yan, even though Aldo shot in for takedowns a couple times and nothing happened. But with the Peter Yan, I think that he's gonna definitely Aldo is gonna definitely surprise him. By all his skills around it. Striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, putting all together, and it's gonna be a good match. And me, right after beating Frankie Edgar, I believe that I will be the next one, fighting for the title.
How come you're not in the UFC video game?
Yeah, that's some bullshit, man. They don't even follow me. I haven't been text them and liking all the posts and comment all the posts. I unfollowed them when I found out I was not in the video game. It just sucks. It's something that I do believe that I let it go. It's something that I cannot control, but also I think it's some bullshit. I tweet before too. I've been in UFC since 2014. She has been, next year is gonna be 7 years. I fought the best fighters in that division. I never picked none of my fights, but I do think it's not how good you are. I think it's how many followers you have. And many fighters in there in the game that I put it like a lot of the fighters
they're popular.
Game,
yeah, it's kind of becoming a popularity contest, which when it shouldn't be. They got to look at the rankings and be like, look, here are the top guys. We got to like anyone who's ranked, in my opinion, should be in the game. It doesn't make any sense.
The game itself, it doesn't make any sense for now. Let's talk shit once and I'm not there. Fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Dustin Poirier's ranked like number 40 in skill. Like that doesn't make any sense either. So there's a lot of things we could do a whole interview on that.
He's not in the game?
No, he's in the game, but he's ranked. I think like they had like a rankings of fighters. He's like ranked like 45th or something, like in terms of skill. It's crazy.
But yeah, so
really looking forward to your fight, UFC Fight Night, August 22nd. Pedro, thank you so much for the time, man. It's always great catching up with you, and glad to hear you and the family are doing well with all the COVID stuff. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or shout outs, the floor is yours.
Great, yeah. Instagram, try to be active.
You're on there all the time. I always see you post stuff. I got to give you credit for that. I see you're on there all the time.
I'm trying. It's sometimes hard to manage, like being a professional athlete, a father, a husband, and then being the one on social media that you can definitely be caught up in that and spend hours and hours and hours. So I'm trying to balance everything. I think life is all about balance. So people, I've always tried to to give the love back to fans and things like that. You guys can find me as Pedro Munhoz MMA